So Charlie, can you talk about how you got the opportunity to direct the Lego Ninjago movie?
Yeah, that started with Chris and Phil. They were in the process of making the first Lego movie, and I think that they knew they wanted to, and Chris and Phil and Dan wanted to make another movie, and I think it was Dan's idea to make Ninjago. I think his kids were really big fans of this show, and he really wanted to try to make that show, that movie, and they approached me. I had met Chris and Phil briefly, like around the time that they were making Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and then I think they had seen my show. I did a TV series of Tron, and they had seen the show and said, "Oh, we've got to, let's get in touch with Charlie and talk about Ninjago." So for me, they contacted me, and once I came in, the first movie wasn't out yet, but once I came in and they showed me what they were doing with the first film, I was like, oh, let me in, please. let me be a part of this. It's so cool. Just the look of it, the big idea of approaching it from a stop motion aesthetic, that it's the actual Lego bricks come to life, and that these films feel like a big cinematic version of the fan films you see on YouTube that people are making in stop motion. It's just so appealing, I was really excited to have an opportunity to do it.
Can you briefly talk about the story you're telling, because it's quite a rich story?
Yeah. I mean, it's a story about a group of ninjas that are sworn to protect the island of Ninjago, the mythical island of Ninjago, that is continually being attacked by the evil Lord Garmadon, who's heck bent on conquering Ninjago and ruling it. The leader of the secret ninja force is Lloyd, the Green Ninja, and a small complication for him is that his father is Lord Garmadon that's trying to attack, and it's this big comedic action adventure martial arts movie with monsters and magic and giant robots. But really, this is it's a story about family, and it's a story about this kid who's feeling terrible about his relationship with his father because he hasn't been around. So it's this family story about father and son being played out on this grand scale, because the father is an evil villain, and the son is the hero that's sworn to protect the city from him.
And following up on that, there's a part of the movie which is almost a road movie.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's this whole group has to go on a journey to seek out the ultimate weapon, and so they have to go on this journey of of self-discovery as well.
How was it to work with this great cast that you've assembled here?
Yeah, unbelievable. It was the greatest. I mean, starting with Jackie, it's like the opportunity to work with him is he's such a legend, but is such a funny person, such a funny guy. He always knows how to make something funny. It was incredible, and Justin was just a dream to work with. He's also so funny. This whole cast, the way we went about casting this team of people was we were seeking out people with a really strong, not just a great voice that they all sounded great together, but great comedic voices, and they're all such amazing comedians. They brought so much to the story. They're all improv artists, and the way they played off of each other, we found so much of what we were doing and what ends up in the film, just in the recordings together, trying things, riffing on things. It's kind of how we make these movies is very loose and with a lot of improv.
these movies take years to make, and the director's on board all the time, and you're dealing with different teams with lots of people. What part of that whole process do you enjoy the most, and why?
It's it's a interesting question because there's so many different parts of it that I do love working with the actors and directing the actors. That is this incredibly spontaneous aspect of it, where we're finding things, we're finding jokes, and we're making each other laugh and trying new things out, and that's really rewarding. But I come from an animation background and design background, and designing in Lego was this huge new challenge for me that was so interesting, and I had to change the way that I thought about design. You have this limited palette and limited palette of bricks that you can use to design things. That was really interesting, and for me, I have a deep history of animation, so working with the animation team, I think, and the animation director Matt Everett, we had a really great relationship, and he was a real partner for me in this movie, and we really had a great time with this team. We pushed them really hard, and I think we got an incredible result. I'm really proud of the animation from this team.
But how did you manage to combine what you were mentioning before, the limits of the toys and how they move, with a world that is so rich, and at the same time images that are photorealistic or even real?
Yeah.
How did you manage to do that?
It was hard. It's difficult, but I think the limitations of the Lego become, these kinds of limitations are ultimately your friend. It's because of these sort of the limits of what you can do with a minifig that doesn't have an elbow or a knee, and solving those kind of design challenges and those kinds of animation challenges are what makes it exciting. That's what is so challenging about it, and so rewarding when you can figure out ways to do it. Like, how do we make these, how do you make these kinds of foods? There's supposed to be a birthday cake. Like, what pieces are we going to use? Like, how do we make this into this these different things? Like, I think that's the fun of working in something like this, like Lego.
And then, of course, it's getting the tone right. And that, I think, really, the three Lego movies, they have their own voice in animation because they're really funny. They appeal to people of all ages. At the same time, they talk about serious issues. You've got some father-son issues here. And getting that tone also for a filmmaker is key, right?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest goal. That's the biggest challenge and the biggest goal. And that's what we're working the hardest on throughout the whole process. That's that moving target of, like, what is at the core emotionally, what is so interesting about this story. That's the thing that the whole team, everyone's pulling the rope in the same direction to try to find that emotional center, and because these movies are the way they are, because of what Chris and Phil and Chris McKay did in the first film, sort of planted the flag into these Lego movies. This is the sense of humor. There's a sort of a wonderful freedom of the way that we can make jokes and sort of the irreverent punk rock feeling of these films. It's so much fun to work in.
And a lot of action because it's martial arts, mechs, a lot of action, right?
Yeah, a lot of, and that's it's totally the type of stuff that I love. It's all the things that I love. I mean, martial arts movies and big robot mech movies and monsters and all this stuff that all my favorite influences from Asian cinema sort of wrapped up into one film here. It's the action part of it is so much fun, and I mean, the opportunity to work with Jackie and the JC Stunt team to choreograph these fights, it was amazing.
Just to finish, is there a ninja you identify with the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I probably identify with Lloyd the most. The Green Ninja. You know, he goes on the deepest journey of self-discovery, and I think that I'm hoping that a lot of people will be able to relate to him and see that, you know, that I think a lot of people feel like Lloyd, and hopefully that this movie will speak to them.